Hello and welcome to a Star Citizen State of the Game and Development, going over the current Alpha 3.2.2, major issues, what's changing in the short term, major parts of Alpha 3.3, Evocati, CitizenCon, and more. The current Alpha build for the game is 3.2.2. The flight model for it isn't particularly great at the moment. John Pritchett, the original designer of the flight model and Gravlev systems, has left CIG. His flight model maybe was a bit too complex for easy implementation into the game. So the flight model is now in the hands of a dedicated team that are reworking it. They will handle both design and implementation, so that should help iron out a lot of problems. The intention is to have ships maneuver a bit more rather than being incredibly agile and super responsive all the time. They are also working out burdensome atmospheric flight as well, so ships will actually feel like they're in atmosphere. We should see some of this at CitizenCon and the implementation of the new system by the end of the year. A proper flight model that is working and standardized and not finalized, but close to being finalized, it is super important for Star Citizen. It needs to be in a state where it's easily editable and sort of like they can change anything that they need to quickly and easily, but also in a state that we know it's not going to get any more major reworks and that sort of stuff. But also them making it potentially more simplified does enable them to make sure it's as efficient as possible as it can when it comes to using your PC's resources, but also that it's ready for object container streaming and network bind culling and server meshing and all that sort of stuff as well. Base combat, because of all of this at the moment, isn't great. I mean, it's not awful, it's very pretty, but ships are sort of like, smaller ships are really hard to hit a lot of the time, and combat, people can just blast away from each other. They can go to quantum pretty easily just to escape. So in the persistent universe, it's not great, and the game requires a reasonable amount of rebalancing when it comes to the weapons. Now, all of this, or at least a lot of this, should be covered in the weaponry factor that is coming in 3.3, but again, without that flight model in place, a lot of that combat rebalancing is going to require more rebalancing once we have a stable flight model. Performance again. So performance is a lot better compared to what it used to be pre 3.2. It's got to a stage where a lot of systems can run Star Citizen in the persistent universe at reasonable frame rates without it really killing your system or running at 1 frame per second for some random amounts of time and that sort of stuff. So hitching's down, server performance seems to be a lot better than it used to be. It's far from perfect, but it's not awful. Now, we'll talk about 3.3 in a minute, actually. Persistence and reasons to play. Yeah, so this is where really the current build falls down, and Star Citizen has been lacking since its creation. So we don't have true persistence yet, we don't have true reasons to play, and what I mean by that is that there's nothing really to do for long-term play. So there's no ships to buy. You can buy items and you can buy weapons and that sort of stuff, but you can earn enough money to have everything you want pretty damn quickly. There's no like major progression. There's only a small subset of missions and things to do that are not you getting together in a group and making your own fun. Star Citizen is very pretty at the moment. You can, if you're with the right group of people, find hundreds, if not thousands of hours to play in the persistent universe now. But again, that is you making your own machinima, making your own races, setting up server-wide takeovers with 50 players, all doing things. Maybe you have a big fight on a planet or a big race or whatever. But again, that is not a programmed system. That is not a proper mission. That is not something that you can do solo. You have to get together and make your own fun with that. Very pretty for screenshots, very pretty for videos, but again, not a sit down and play game yet. So Alpha 3.3 is coming to us on the 10th of October at CitizenCon. This has lots and lots of important features. Client-side object container streaming. This is going to reduce the amount of RAM and, I believe, VRAM and some general PC resources that you need to run the game. It should reduce load time, stuff like that as well. It is super important for them to have planets, capital ships, and server meshing and more people on the servers and stuff like that. It is a core technology which Star Citizen needs, and it is a big step forward to the game's completion. We're also going to have an actual planet. We're going to have Hurston with water, loads of new biomes, new moons, rest stops. So there's a significant increase in gameplay area. There's a whole host of new features in 3.3. The ship rental store. Now, when it comes to reasons to play, ship rental store is going to be super important. This will allow you in the persistent universe to rent ships with Alpha UEC. We don't know exactly that implementation. That's the assumed implementation of it. It was just mentioned in a monthly report recently. But being able to obtain ships in game, great. More missions, scramble races. So we're going to see lots more missions in the game, which is going to be great. This is also going to contain FPS AI. So up until now, we haven't had NPCs running around on foot, being able to defend, fight, be part of missions, that sort of stuff. We're also going to have scramble races, which is going to be great for people wanting to do them. These are Destruction Derby-esque events where you will have weapons free, you race around to get beacons and blow each other up and that sort of stuff as well. So that should be pretty cool. Voice over IP and face over IPs in, that's going to enable so much more when it comes to emergent gameplay and player interaction and doing silly things. I talked earlier about 3.2.2 and people making their own fun. Now, a lot of the sort of game is pushing towards Second Life and slightly towards Eve, where there's a lot of stuff that you can do that you organize yourself, and they give you the tools to make your own missions, and that's very true of the contract system and service beacons and stuff like that. But at the moment, opening that up with voice over IP and face over IP allows for a huge amount more gameplay. Now, you can use any microphone and I believe any webcam for that face over IP and voice over IP feature, but I believe Faceware are also making their own camera. I'm assuming that will be unveiled at CitizenCon. I'll get a review of those up compared to other webcams as soon as possible. There's going to be a weaponry factor, which is obviously essential at the moment. So in 3.2.2 at the moment, there isn't really that much in the way of competitive player v player arena commander that there used to be in 2.6.3. Since 3.0, really, the game's been lacking in this sort of like PvP fighting area when it comes to like more competitive play. And yeah, there needs to be this weaponry balance. There needs to be this flight model that needs to be locked down, and it needs to be fun and actually work. Item degradations in 3.3 as well, which will literally mean that some weapons misfire and that sort of stuff. They will degrade over time. You'll have to repair and replace them, that sort of stuff. So Evocati and PTU phases for that. So there have been a load of new Evocati members added to the testing pool. 3.3 is currently not on the Evocati at the moment, but it could go up any day now. So Evocati are the early test flighters. They are people that get the 3.3 and other patches earlier than everyone else, but the Evocati are under NDA, so we won't be able to share specific screenshots, videos, or anything like that about the patch. I believe they announce it when it has gone to Evocati, though, so you will at least know that it's in the Evocati phase. After the more major bugs are dealt with, which is literally what Evocati are there for, to identify those bugs and to make reports on them, then it will go to First Wave PTU, Public Test Universe, which will open it up to more backers and also allow the freedom of creation of content. So you will start to see people talk about it and patch notes come out and videos on 3.3 in those early phases. CitizenCon. So CitizenCon is going to be free for everyone to watch now. There was some drama about that, but it's all sorted now. And the whole day's events are going to be streamed across both stages. There's a secondary stage for some other bits that are going on. You'll have to have a Star Citizen account from the RSI webpage or watch one of the, what I assume is going to be many content creators restreaming the event. There is going to be a new ship or something going on concept sale. We think that it's most likely going to be the Drake Kraken civilian carrier because there's been hints at that, and it makes sense for them to sell it at CitizenCon. There's most likely going to be a sale as well, I suspect, with other ships. There is a schedule up for some of the day's panels and shows, but we don't know what's going to be on the keynote presentation. We don't know what that's going to contain. Now, the keynote is the main thing that everyone wants to see, typically from CitizenCon. It's normally like an hour of gameplay, new stuff. And also there's the road to release, which is at the very end of CitizenCon. We don't know what that's going to include either. I'm hoping that it gives us updated roadmaps, just like a low-resolution, long-term roadmap, potentially with some release dates with Squadron 42 Episode 1 or something like that, or identifying potentially just what the last major elements of Star Citizen are that need completing and when sort of they see a beta potentially coming out. Is it a couple of years like I think, or is it going to be longer? Them telling us now, that would be absolutely great. But we'll likely see some new gameplay, the future of Star Citizen, Squadron 42 gameplay, stuff like that. Alpha 3.3 is also pegged to be released at CitizenCon on the 10th, so they might have a little tiny bit of 3.3 gameplay. Hopefully not too much, because obviously it will be in our hands, and it would have already been spoiled, as it were, by the PTU. My plans for the day, so on the 10th of October, are to get a summary of the keynote speech, keynote presentation up, a gameplay cut, if relevant, because typically they have quite low quality footage. I'll grab it and see what I can do to clean bits of it up. Patch notes for Alpha 3.3, because that patch will be going live, and again, if relevant, an updated roadmap. If they do have a low resolution roadmap, or they give any dates of anything coming out, bam, we'll talk about that. Same with like faceware cameras. I'll also probably drop a ship buyer's guide, or at least a overview of the concept sell of whatever they're going to sell as well. So the CitizenCon for me is probably the year's most major event. I mean, they do some cool stuff near Christmas as well, with like the holiday live stream, which is always pretty cool. And this year we didn't have Gamescom. Well, we had Gamescom, but CIG weren't at Gamescom actually running a presentation. They were working on the game, and Star Citizen is just starting to deliver. But with the current patch, we don't have enough in the way of gameplay loops or reasons to play long term. It is very much sort of like, let's test this alpha, let's give some feedback on stuff we like, we don't like, and then move on. And I am looking forward to sitting down and playing Star Citizen for long periods of time. I want that sort of like EVE experience where I am logged in constantly doing stuff. That's what I want from Star Citizen. I'm happy to do some like roleplay stuff. I'm happy to play it a little bit like Second Life. I'm happy to do some silly stuff and to get together with my org and multiple orgs, do alliances, do big missions. But sometimes I want to sit down and play for an hour to progress just the amount of money I've got. I want to gain a load of money, and I want systems in place to be able to do that and reasons to be able to do that. So I want to be able to earn money to progress to get the next ship, and that there to be gameplay for that next ship that I get. And obviously I want capital ships and all that sort of stuff, and that sort of stuff is a bit further out, but again, we might see a reasonable amount of that at CitizenCon. So gameplay loops, expanded gameplay areas, aliens, biomes, creatures, all that sort of stuff, jump points, that's all necessary to push the game forward, and stuff that we're missing at the moment. Yeah, we've got a load of ships, we need those gameplay mechanics to use those ships. We need creatures and more plants and more biomes to fill out the universe, and we are starting to get that now. 3.3 gives us an actual full planet and a city and a load more of that content and gameplay area that we need. There is a panel on alien biomes as well that's going to be at CitizenCon, so hopefully they will be showing some of that stuff. Hopefully that will be in engine, although it could just be concept art and that sort of stuff. But yeah, very exciting this year for CitizenCon. We should get a lot of information. I'm hoping the next time I do one of these sort of state of the game videos that I'll be able to say, bam, there's reasons to play for longer periods of time, or at least that's coming pretty soon, like by the end of the year or something like that. That's the sort of stuff I want to be able to talk about. The basic FAQ questions I always get asked is, yeah, you can obtain all of these ships in the game eventually. Hopefully, from 3.3 onwards, we'll actually be able to grab those ships in-game and at least rent them. Eventually, you'll be able to buy them with in-game currency, but you don't need to buy anything more than just a starter package to actually be able to play the game. Squadron 42 is a separate game, but you can bolt it on as an add-on for like $20 extra. We don't have release dates for anything yet. Hopefully from CitizenCon we might get inklings of one. It'd be great if we did actually get release dates. I know that would make everyone happy. Articles 11 and 13, which are being voted on by Europe, that were passed in the European Parliament, do get talked about more, and there is another vote and all that sort of stuff. Even if there's a nightmare scenario for those when it comes to censorship and all that sort of stuff, it shouldn't affect my content too much, and it shouldn't affect the game Star Citizen, so don't worry too much about that. We're dynamic, we'll adapt, all that sort of stuff, I've got a video on that if you do want to try and use your voice to influence the European Parliament and hopefully get Article 11 and 13 stopped, or at least renegotiated in a way that works in a way that doesn't curtail free speech and is open to abuse and that sort of stuff. But yeah, as I said, check out that video that I've done on that if you're interested. Some of the major gameplay loops that we don't have yet that I'm super interested in are exploration. That's going to be major. Science, that's going to cover so much, including like farming and stuff like that. Hacking, e-war, the medical professions, because that's going to be super important to keeping you alive, because there is permadeath in Star Citizen, although it's more of a soft, light permadeath. There is probably going to be light survival mechanics as well, which they've previously talked about. And a lot of this stuff, we don't know how it's going to take form in its like first tier 0 iteration, they refer to it as, because basically they put in the mechanic basically, and then they will evolve it over future. In the shorter term, we're going to have salvaging and repair, a more robust contract system, which is going to enable a huge amount of player possibilities. There's a huge range of industry and economic roles. There's actually quite a lot, isn't there? Data running, espionage, command and control, capital ships and boarding. There's various jobs that you can do without a ship, I suppose. Literally being a crewman, security officer, stuff like that. Plotting courses. People that want to run the Genesis Starliner, you can be cabin crew. I will do a video on a full feature list for Star Citizen. That seems like a good idea. So all the features that they've currently talked about, all the ones that we know are going to go into the game, and what would be needed to be done to complete them. We can also go over the core tech, because after object container streaming client side in 3.3, we're then going to have server side object container streaming, which will basically be the culling of certain areas and the standby of areas that the server is using to increase efficiency and the use of resources more sensibly. But then we're going to have server meshing, which is literally multiple servers communicating with each other and spinning up and down based on their needs and population, so that we can technically have everyone in the same mega server. And then all of that data still goes to like a God AI, which processes it all and then generates economy data and missions and NPC spawning and all that sort of stuff based on that. There is a long way to go with Star Citizen as well. I think 2 years before we see a persistent universe beta. But it is getting there. They're starting to deliver with all this stuff now, that Cortex coming online, and we're starting to see mission and gameplay loops, mining, that sort of stuff all come together. And that's probably something I should have talked about when I was talking about 3.2.2. Mining gameplay is actually pretty solid. I mean, it's after doing it for a long period of time, it's a bit meh. That's more because of the gameplay area we have for it, and we're not really working towards a goal. So they're constantly sort of like refining the mining gameplay. At the moment, we can mine on planets, moons at the moment, and we look at the composition of the rocks that we're going to mine. We see if it's going to have valuable materials in it after scanning it, and then based on its difficulty as well, because we can see how much resistance is in the rock and that sort of stuff, and how unstable it is, because rocks can explode, causing damage or even destroying your ship. You will then decide whether you want to try and mine it, and it will fill up your prospectors, nom-nom tanks, or where the ore all goes. Eventually they'll be detachable, but they're not at the moment. But it's pretty simple gameplay, but it is a lot more in-depth than literally just click, mine. You have to tweak your mining laser to make sure that it's mining at the correct rate. Otherwise you won't mine anything, or you might be going over limit and causing that rock to explode. And that's going to keep on evolving. We're going to have asteroid mining in 3.3, so that's pretty much the same, but in space and zero gravity. But yeah, that's going to keep on getting tweaked, and then we'll have stripped mining for the Orion eventually, which is huge. But that tier 0 implementation of mining was a billion times better than I expected. It worked, and you can go and sell that ore and stuff. And eventually that economy data will be used to work out how much items and resources cost. How much a ship will cost based on the value of the materials that are needed to construct it. Anyway, I rambled for far longer than I planned to. Feel free to tell me what you think of the current build of Star Citizen. Are you having a great time? Are you having a bad time? Are you waiting until there's more to play? Are you sitting on the fence at the moment? Are you following the project and just going, oh, that's pretty cool? Do you like the way they have open development? Do you think they need to have more communication? Or are you happy with the amount of shows and information they put out each week when it comes to Around the Verse, Calling All Devs, Reverse the Verse, and all of that jazz? And the monthly report. The monthly report is awesomely cool. Every month we have a ship giveaway. This time for September, it's a Saber Raven, a game package, and a CitizenCon digital goodies pack. All you need to do to be in for a chance of winning is be subscribed to my YouTube channel and comment on any of my videos during the month. If you'd like to support the channel further, please consider joining on YouTube as a sponsor or via Patreon. Also, if you're looking to get or upgrade a gaming PC, then consider Shadow instead. Shadow is a subscription-based cloud gaming PC service that can turn most devices, phone, laptop, PC, tablet, and more into a powerful gaming PC via the internets. Links to more info in the description for that, and if you do decide to try it, then use the code BoredGamer to get a discount on the service. Shadow is now available in Germany as well now, and they've just got a new data center in Amsterdam too. Thanks for watching, guys. I look forward to your comments. Take care, and I'll see you in the verse.